Welcome to day 7 of Unleash Your Voice. And it is truly an honor to be sitting here with Nina Rao, beautiful chantress. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking me.
And so I want to share a little bit, those of you who are new to Nina Rao, she learned traditional chants or bhajans from her grandfather in a village in South India when she was 9 years old. The chants quietly stayed with her until she rediscovered chanting with Krishna Das in New York. And it was there that she rediscovered chanting. For many years, Nina has been Krishna Das's business manager and accompanies him musically as well. In 2007, she recorded the track Nina Chalisa on Krishna Das's CD called Flow with Grace, and we'll post links to this inside the thread here in Facebook. In January of 2013, she released her debut album. Oh, I can't wait to talk with you about that. Like why it took until 2013 to release your debut album, Knower of All Hearts. And can you pronounce that, the Sanskrit?
Antaryami.
Antarayami, Knower of All Hearts. In August of 2017, her second album, Anubhav, was released. And Nina regularly leads kirtans, workshops, and retreats all in her hometown of Brooklyn, New York, and beyond. And so thank
Way
you.
beyond
And
nowadays.
yes, way beyond many places, reaching people through the internet and through Zoom. And so what a delight to have you here inside Unleash Your Voice. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's my honor. Thank you so much for asking me. Really.
And so I'd love to invite you into the question I've been asking all of our featured speakers, and that is, what does it mean to unleash the voice?
It's actually such a deep question. I didn't think about it until just a second when you asked the question. I think we're all trying to actually find our voice before we can even think of unleashing it, right? And the voice meaning like, what is our expression?
Mm.
Do we want to share who we are? Who are we? And that's a lifelong pursuit. And all these practices that we do are about finding out the true nature of our being. Um, and I think, for me, I'm not a trained musician. I never took a music lesson in my life, though I wanted to, and somehow it just never worked out that way. We moved around so much when I was a kid. I actually wanted to learn piano, like I can see behind you, and because in those days they didn't have keyboards, I just really didn't have a chance to learn because there was no way for me to have a piano and sing along. But I loved music class and choir. And because I lived abroad in a lot of countries where the only English speaking schools were Catholic schools, a big part of the education was actually Bible study, but also going to the chapel.
Mm.
And it was one of my favorite things because I loved singing the hymns. And that is not my cultural slash religious background. We are a Hindu family. And as you read in the bio, I chanted with my grandfather as a child, and he sang very traditional South Indian bhajans, which are devotional prayers. And he's the one who I first sang, kirtan with. Very simply, he played harmonium, and he was also not a trained musician. He was an engineer, but he was a natural. He loved to sing. He could play bansuri flute. He set all the devotional poems to music, and he would sing. It's beautiful, such a devotional voice. And I didn't really understand that this was actually a form of expressing oneself, one's sense of devotion to the love, to the love that lives within us, the love that we want to share with others, the love that connects us all, and the love of which we're all a part. I didn't understand that. But for many of you who have chanted, you understand that feeling, that pull, as soon as you start singing a mantra or any devotional music, potentially, possibly. So for me, singing in a group was always a really safe way for me to sing without feeling self-conscious, you know. And then when I met Krishnadas in 1996, and I was here in New York, and I had gone to a yoga retreat with my yoga teacher, and she had him leading the satsang in the evening. And when he started to sing, I was so pulled back to this childhood feeling that I had of being in a safe place
Mm.
when I chanted with my grandfather and our village community, even if I didn't know what I was singing. And I think then unleashing my voice took on another aspect, which is, how do I sing without feeling self-conscious about how I sound?
Mm.
And I was surrounded by, when you sing in a group this way, everything comes together so beautifully, like all the colors of the rainbow make a white light, right? So that's how it worked with our voices together. And in a million years, I never expected that I would ever sing on an album, let alone Krishna Das, and let alone, thousands of people hearing that. It never has ever been in my consciousness that that could ever happen. But what did happen was, when I met Krishnadas, I also met my guru, who is here. This is Siddhima. And one of the things that happened when I met Krishnadas was that he talked about his guru, Neem Karoli Baba, who you've probably heard him speak about as well. And I felt so pulled to finding a guru to help me to light my path, to open my heart, to fall at their feet and to fall in their lap. I was really wanting this feeling that Krishnadas was conveying when he was telling stories about his guru, who had left the body in the 70s. So I figure, all right, at least I'm going to go to the temple where he was with him. Maybe something will arise for me.
Mm.
So now it's 1998, and Krishna said, okay, well, here is a letter. You can go stay in the ashram, and when you go and meet Siddhima. Nobody really talked about her so much in those days, but she was one of Maharaji's closest disciples, and she was with him for 40 years. She took care of him. She was very private, and he kind of kept her separate from the public. So, for example, when the Westerners were there, they didn't really know much about her. She knew everything about them because Maharaji would come into the back and tell stories about them and so, about the Westerners. But by the time I got there, she was managing the temples, and I was thrilled that I was going to meet this incredible being. And my relationship with her developed from there. And what happened was, she was very keen on us doing practice. Whenever I asked for what seva can we do in the temple, she said, go and sing the name. This is
Mm.
the best seva that you can do. It's also, as she says, and many other people say, is really the spiritual practice that is accessible to all of us in what they call the Kali Yuga, which is the dark ages right now. And just the repetition of the name of the divine is going to help us to find our way through the darkness.
Mm.
The other thing that happened, though, with Siddhima was, I see you have Sarah's yantra behind you. So there's another yantra that Sarah made a long time ago that I love. It's one of my favorites. It's for a goddess named Bhairavi. So Bhairavi, when I looked her, I loved the shape and I wanted to understand who is Bhairavi. So when I started to read about Bhairavi, this is the goddess who clarifies our mind before we even utter our speech. So it's before word even, it's the silence before sound. And what I found when I was with Siddhima is that is the clear space that she was coming from at all times.
Mm.
And in her presence, I was able to feel that clarity myself. And it's really hard to explain, but I felt that she trusted my heart. And because she trusted my heart, I could trust my own heart. And that was sort of the beginning of understanding for me what is my voice? What do I want to say with the utmost of clarity? So it was about speaking. And of course, the chanting just came alongside that, just because that was my practice. And I sang, with Krishnadas, and he really loved this Hanuman Chalisa melody, which he tricked me because he knew how, I don't know if you know this story. He knew how nervous I would be to go into the studio. So what happened was he was asked to create this album of different melodies of the Hanuman Chalisa, which was going to accompany a book. It's a beautiful book. Um, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's this one. It's called Flow of Grace. And, we'd all been chanting the Hanuman Chalisa a lot. So we were very excited for this recording. And he said to me, he said, Nina, that melody that you sing, I want to learn it because I want to sing it on the album. So I was thrilled, that he would want to sing something that I had sort of come up with, or it had come down on me and I was singing it. So he said, okay, so sing it for me and I'm going to record it on my little recorder. And when you come to the studio, we'll sing it together in the group. So I got to the studio and then he says, and actually before the studio, he called me 2 days before and he said, we're going to sing it as a duet. So practice. So I said, okay, all right. And so he said, you're going to play harmonium and I'll sing along with you. And when the time came for us to record, the rest of the choir was on one side of the room. He said, okay, now it's your turn. And he went and sat with the choir. And he said, sing. And I just, at that point, you just do. And that was sort of the beginning of um, leading this kind of chanting for me. I had never thought about that before, that I would ever lead practice in this way, other than in the temple, which I used to do. But then everybody in India sings. So it's not it's not required to be a musician. You can always lead chanting regardless. Nor is it required here, but when you record, you have to have some sense of musicality, I suppose. So that's how that happened. And that was I think we recorded that in 2005. Yeah. So that's a very long story, kind of explaining my journey and all the aspects of what it means to unleash one's voice.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for that story. I was just feeling that journey of you in the temple and chanting, and hearing that this is the best thing that you could do in the Kali Yuga, in this time, is to chant, the divine names. And then another thing that I just so tenderly, want to point light at is the falling into your guru, and seeing that trust, that love, that if she can trust my heart, so can I. And just that opening of Wow. Going into the studio, receiving this melody of the Hanuman Chalisa, and then being tricked into singing it. And, I guess what I'm feeling is like sometimes that outside reminder, that encouragement that like you can go get us just go sit over there. Here's the microphone. You can do it. You've got it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
My
I
God.
had
Leave.
no choice at that moment. I was like, that was it. I was like, okay, well, this is my practice. So it's not like I'm trying to do something new. I do it all the time at home and with my friends. So okay, so let's just do it. So we sang it in one take. Mhm.
How wow. Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful story. And it just I guess it speaks to that, mm, the intimacy of this being your practice, and being embodied, being in your experience, and right here, right ready to share. And I'm curious, the Hanuman Chalisa has so much magic in it, has so much beauty in the Chalisa, and I'm just curious, like some of our listeners here have been chanting a while, and feel that mm, the quality of devotion and aliveness that comes online when you chant these sacred mantras. And there's some who are curious about it. There are some who haven't chanted before, and I guess I'm curious to hear you speak on th- that mystery of chanting and the devotional practice of chanting and mantras and bhajans.
Right. Well, I think the fact that it is a mystery is what draws us to it. It's inexplicable.
Yes.
What we do know is that they say that these mantras or these syllables are meant to protect or transform our minds. It depends on how you look at the word. And it's said that these sound forms were actually transmitted to rishis or seers, many thousands of years ago, who were doing very serious tapasya, which is spiritual practice, um, in order to awaken into the reality of all things. Because as it is stands right now, we're completely shrouded and clouded by our thought forms and what we think is reality. But then we get a glimpse for just a second, and we all have had that. We've all had that moment. In whatever way you've had that experience, you've had it, where suddenly you feel completely aligned with the entire universe. And there's a great sense of peace and openness and okayness when that happens.
Mm.
It's very hard to manufacture. You cannot actually manufacture it. So what we do is we ripen ourselves by doing practice. And how do we do the practice? And this is why repetition of the name is good for the Kali Yuga, because if our minds are so dull that we can't see beyond what we're thinking, and the judgments that we make about ourselves and others, and the extreme emotions and reactive behavior that we engage in every moment of the day, then we need a tool. And so that's what mantra is. Mantra is the tool for the mind. So if we can grab onto that and have, with the feeling of having a sense of well-being in whatever way it might have come to us, like you heard chanting somewhere, or you were in nature and you heard a river rushing by, or you saw a tree, or you saw an animal or a child, or any act of kindness, anything can bring that feeling up inside of us, right? So if you've heard chanting, and you feel the magic of it, I think it's great to latch onto it, because then it's a practice that you're going to enjoy, right? If you're going to do you if you're doing a practice, you have to be regular. If you're going to be regular, you need to like it. Otherwise, you're not going to do it.
Yes.
So, um, so the mantra is transmitted to us by the simple act of repeating and listening. Listening, repeating. It's a call and response. And there are many forms of mantra repetition. You can do japa, which is just a recitation without music. You can do kirtan, which is call and response, where you listen to the leader singing the mantra and then you repeat back. Or you can sing bhajan, which is like a devotional prayer, which you sing together in a group. All of these, if we can train ourselves to do it in the right way, which is very simply to stay focused on the mantra. Let the thoughts come and go because they will. We have not the ability to shut them down. So just be okay with that. And just remember that all we're going to do, just like if we were doing a meditation practice and we were breathing and we keep coming back to the breath, you come back to the mantra and allow the mantra to do its magic. We don't know how it works, but we do know that it does work by our own personal experience. And I don't think that there's a formula that we could possibly know to determine how many times or how long someone needs to do the practice. That is all dependent on our own karmas and whatever we have to go through in our lives in order for it to fully awaken us. But they say that it can and it will eventually. But I just don't know which lifetime. But in my experience of having chanted now regularly for what is it now? I guess it's 25, 26 years. Um, I know the benefits of it. I understand the benefit of it. And it's so much so that it's just become my refuge. That's where I rest. That's where I take all my difficulties. That's where I take my sadness, my grief, my anger, my joy, my gratitude, my when I really need something to ask for.
Mm.
That's the place I go to prayer, because they say that prayer changes things. So all of these are prayers. You may not be asking for something specific, like, I am going to get an A on my exam today. It's not like that. It could be something as simple as, um, I want to be grateful for today and everything that it's going to bring to me. Help me be open to that. Or you don't even have to have any intention other than just to do the practice. It takes care of you. That's the beauty of it. These mantras and these prayers are the embodiment of the divinity that we are surrounded by and of which we're a part, but we don't feel it. So the seed gets planted in us by the repetition of these names.
Mm. Wow. Yes. These seeds get planted. These ancient, beautiful practices and prayers. And what, I was just the other day reflecting on how incredible and accessible these technologies are, like more than ever in our experience on earth right now. That you can lead a workshop and we can all experience that, and you can lead a kirtan on Zoom, and that we can have these technologies and show up to the practice. And you know the the thing that feels very important to speak into is it's there. It's there. And just allowing ourselves to go chant, to go experience it. The voice being something that we carry with us every single day, every single minute, every single hour that we can chant and come back to, here is my refuge. What so beautiful that you shared. Like, this is where I get to rest.
Yeah. It's not always 100% comfortable, but
Mm.
it's always there.
Mm.
Just like your breath is always there.
Mm.
And then sometimes, even if you're so tired and you can't possibly even speak the mantra is going on inside of you all the time anyway. So it's kind of circling around inside of yourself, and you can just very softly kind of utter and whisper, but you're still hearing it in your mind.
Mm.
So it's that inner voice also you have to pay attention to.
I'm curious if there's a mantra that you are present to right now that you would grace us with.
Yeah, there are so many. Do you want me to sing something, or you just want me to recite, sing something? Okay. We can do a very simple, we can do Sitaram. To me, it's a beautiful representation of the integration of our being into the one heart, the two sides of the same being, Sita and Ram. Can you tell me if you can hear this?
It's a little quiet.
I won't make it too loud. I'm just gonna sing a little bit.
Yeah, there it is.
It's okay?
Mm-hmm.
Sita, Sita, Ram, Sita, Ram, Sita, Ram, Sita, Sita, Ram, Sita, Ram, Sita, Ram. 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 Sita, Sita, Ram, Sita, Ram, Sita, Ram.
you. Mm, thank you so much. It was so speechless. Mm, and I'm aware of how I want a whole hour of that. I want a whole hour. Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you. Sitaram.
I know, as I'm sitting here, I'm just thinking, we just have to sit down to do it.
Yes.
As soon as you start, it's all done already. We just have to bring ourselves to this place, including myself in this whole situation. Not like, I have a regular practice, but if I really believed that I could stay in a quiet, calm place if I chanted all day, I'd probably chant all day. But the mind is so tricky, pulls us away from it all the time. So if we can just discipline ourselves for just a few minutes a day, you start to exercise that muscle of coming back to do the practice over and over again. And that's what Siddhima said. She said, even if you do 5 minutes a day, just create a discipline, a time of day that you do the practice, whatever that practice is. And, we had specific prayers that we did in the temple. Hanuman Chalisa was a big part of that. But there's so many prayers to the goddess, to Shiva. The Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram was sung all the time.
Mm.
And, in my tradition from South India, which is not where my guru's temple is, we have a whole other set of prayers. There's so much there. And now during COVID, like you were saying, digitally, so many things became available. So I was able to do the one thing I've been wanting to do for so long, which is to study Sanskrit with a Sanskrit teacher. So I get to be with her, at least once a week. And she's in Belgium. It would have never happened otherwise. So that's another like very traditional form of chanting called Vedic chanting, which is not actually sung. It's just repetition of the divine name, but in a very specific format, very old way.
Wow. Yeah. So, such a beautiful reminder for me, and I imagine for some of you listening. It's here, mm, sitting down, that discipline, coming back to the practice, something we love, something that really we feel connected to. And I'm so, so grateful to have this time with you, Nina Rao. This has been so enlightening and just so nourishing to me and my soul on a personal level, and for all of the women listening, thank you for sharing your voice and your practice with us and your wisdom. And I want to invite, those of you who feel that, feel that pull towards chanting, to connect with Nina and look at her beautiful albums. I shared a couple with you on our call. I shared a couple of your mantras on our call the other day, and so they got a taste. And is there anywhere else where people can connect with you and be in your sphere of chanting?
Mhm. Definitely, the albums are a good place. I do a few other things. I do a virtual kirtan now and then, which is an interesting idea because I actually can't hear you singing. But I found that during COVID, people really found it helpful. And now that we're coming out into doing in-person things, people are actually afraid, who are not close by, that we're going to stop,
Mm.
because it's a lifeline for, to come, like for me to be with you here, even though I can't see everybody in the Facebook group, like I feel connected to the people who are out there. And I think that's all we want, is to feel connected. And so all that being said, I do have some recordings. There's so many different ways. If your people are new to kirtan and have not chanted before, I actually created a series called Introduction to Kirtan,
Mm.
which is available it's all on my website, but it's through Embodied Philosophy on their platform. And I have 8 different episodes where we explore 8 different mantras, and I tell a little story about it. And I have my friend Arjun playing tabla, and it's like a call and response where I sing the call and then I play the music for you to hear your own voice
Mm.
and feel like, what does that feel like to hear your own voice? And it's nice when you don't have to do it in front of other people. Nobody else can hear you, so you can do what you feel like. And then I have a lot of other stuff on Instagram and Facebook that happens, now and then. It's all on my website. But if you wanted to chant, other than listening to CDs, which is really the best way,
Mm.
that's how I did it.
Yes.
And I, forever, all I did was listen to chanting. It's still, now I don't listen to very much, but that's all I did. I couldn't listen to anything else. So yeah, so that's what I've got. So I think you have the link, right? Nina Rao Chant. Yeah.
Yeah, posted in the Facebook group here. And yes, yes to listening. My gosh, I learned so many chants that way, and it was such a permission, a way to try new melodies and yeah, feel myself in that. And so I'll share your both of your albums too. And I am just so grateful to have this time. And thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Love being with everyone.
Mm. All right, Nina Rao chant. I will post in our beautiful Facebook group. And
Yeah.
thank you on behalf of all of us. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Laura Rose. Have a
Mm.
good rest of your immersion. Don't sink too deep. Well, I think you'll come up for air.
We'll take a few breaths. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.